Welcome everyone. Today we're going to discuss about carbon sequestrations. Carbon captures and the storage is an approach for mitigation global warming by capturing carbon dioxide from large point sources such as power plants and the sequence storing it instead of releasing it into atmosphere. Technology for capturing of CO2 is already commercially available for large CO2 emitters such as power plant. However, capture is meaningless without storage. Storage of CO2 on the other hand is a relatively untitled concept, and as yet 2007 no power plant operates with a full carbon capture and storage system. Worldwide large stationary source of CO2. CO2 storage. Various forms have been convinced for permanent storage of CO2. These forms include gesture stored in various deep geological formations, liquid storage in the oceans, and solid storage by reactions of CO2 with the metal oxide for the produce stable carbonate. Geological storage, also known as geosequestration, this method involves injecting carbon dioxide directly into underground geological formation, oil field, gas field, saline formations, unmined coal streams, and the saline steels-based formations have been suggested as storage site. However, various physical and geochemical trapping mechanism would prevent the CO2 from escaping to source. CO2 is something injected into declining well field to increase well recovery. This option is attractive because the store costs are offset by the sale of additions well that is recovered. Disadvantages of this oil field are their geographical distributions and their limited capacity. Storage. Unminable coal seams can be used to store CO2 because CO2 absorbs of the surface of the coal. However, the technical feasibility depends on the permanently of the coal bed. In the process of absorptions, the coal release previously absorption methods and the methods can be recovered. The sale of the methanes can be used to offset the cost of the CO2 storage. Storage. Saline formations contain high mineralized brain and have so far been considered of no benefit to human. Saline sequence have been used for storage of chemicals waste or in a few cases the main advantage of the saline aquifer is the large potential storage volume and the common occurrence that will reduce the disadvantage over which CO2 has to be transported. The major disadvantage of the saline acquisition is that relatively little is known about them. Capture the well fields to keep the cost of storage acceptance. The geophysical explorations may be limited, resulting in the large uncertainty about the aquifer structure. Unlike storage in the well field or a coal field, no site produce will atmosphere may be problem in the saline aquifer storage. However, current research shows that several tapping mechanisms immobilize the CO2 underground, reducing the risk of leakage. For well-selected design and managed geological storage as IPCC estimate that CO2 could be trapped for billions of years and these sites are likely to retain over 99% of the injection CO2 over 1000 years. Ocean storage. Two main concepts exist. The dissolution type injects CO2 by clipping of the pipeline into the water column at depth of 1000 m or more, and CO2 subsequent dissolves. The lag types deposit CO2 directly onto the sea floor or at depth greater than 3000 m, where CO2 is a denser than water and expected to form a lake that would delay dissolutions of CO2 into the environment. Dissolutions and the lag type storage. CCS versus non-CCS. CCS applied to a modern conventional power plant could reduce CO2 emissions to the atmosphere by the approximately 80 to 90% compared to a plant without CCS. Capturing and compression CO2 requires such energy and would increase the fuel need to plants with CCS by amount 10 to 40%. These and other system costs are estimated to increase. Storage of the CO2 is investigated either in a deep geological format, deep oceans, or in the form of mineral carbonates. Geological formations are currently considered the most promising sequestration site, and these are estimated to have storage capture at least 2000 CO2. A geological storage solution. Conceptual plan for converting methane's gas into hydrogen and CO2. This pumping the the separated CO2 offshores to assist with officials, well productions, and from the Miller well field. World CO2 emissions, the quality has stably increased since still the industry revolutions and the peak late in the last century. Worldwide emissions are still rising. The average temperatures of the Earth is rising, especially when the measure at the poles. Note that the average Earth surface temperature correlated well with the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. About half of the extra CO2 from the atmosphere will discover in the oceans. Predict how CO2 emissions will change in the future. Calculate how this will change the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. Final work out how acidic the oceans will become. The accidentally is shown as the change in pH unit effect of the change of marine life is an unknown and but could be disastrous. The ocean already holds 400 billion tons of ocean fluid CO2. Consequently, the ocean is already zero point 0.1 pH unit more acid this before industry CO2 emissions. That means neutral plant into the ocean, North Sea, and all should oceans water are. Cost of CCS capturing and compression CO2 requires such much energy, significantly rising the running cost of the CCS equipped power plant. In addition, there are additional investment or capital cost. The process would increase the energy needs of a plant that CCS by about 10 to 40% of the cost of storage and other system costs are estimated to increase the cost of energy from a power plant with CCS by 30 to 60%. For the world scale estimate are commonly about 2% of the global domestic product that is 1 year of normal growth. CO2 transport. After capture, the CO2 must be transported to situation storage site. This is done by the pipeline, which is generally the cheapest form of transport, or by ship when no pipeline are available. Environmental effect. Third concept of the converted CO2 is a bicarbonate. The environment effect of ocean storage are generally negative but the poorly understood. Large concentrations of CO2 kill ocean organism. It likes take a water in the deeper oceans to circulate to the surface has been estimated to be one of the order of the 600 year varying upon carrying and other charges conditions. A major concept is CCS is the weather leakage of the storage CO2 will the compromise. CCS is as a eliminate change mitigations option. The further investigations, the senses of the CO2 sequestrations, we can look into the Norway Sleipner gas field as it is the oldest plant that sequesters CO2 in an industrial scale. Evidence of the major tectonic events after the depositions of the utilizer formation. Three industrial scale storage projects are in operation. Sleipner is the oldest project and is located in the North Sea, where Norway's stellar strips carbon dioxide from the natural gas with amine salt and the dispose of the carbon dioxide in a saline formation. The carbon dioxide is a waste production of the field. Natural gas produced and the gas contains more than 9% CO2 than in the allowed the natural gas distribution network. The sleeper is a project injects carbon dioxide into the stellar requires depth benefit of the sea cost. The Webern projects started in 2000 and located in the well reservoirs discovered in 1995 in Canada. CO2 is the project in the capture of the Plain coal gasification plant in Blue, North Dakota. The third site is the Sala, which, like Splinters, is a natural gas reservoir located in the Sala Algeria. A major Canadian initiative called the Integrated CO2 Network. Currently, the United States government has approved the constructions of what they claim to be world first CCS power plant. In terms of quality of the carbon stored capital, the board fossils are visibly outstanding. The values for the carbon dioxide in the visitor in the tropical reach a maximum of 250 metric tons per metric tons. Capturing carbon dioxide from the small mobile such as cars would be more difficult, but more power plant compromising 40% of the world fossil fuel drive carbon emissions. The potential for reduction in the significant estimated of the worldwide storage capacity range from $2 trillion to the $10 trillion carbon dioxide, according to the Intergovernmental Panel of the Climate Change. IPCC is the report of the carbon captures and the storage. Safety is the goal of the carbon sequence is to store the carbon dioxide. The greatest concern of the surrounding carbon dioxide storage is the potential for its leak, and the obvious worry is that the leakage would lead for more global warming. Safety or greater concern of the researcher are the potential leak of carbon sequence to human health, mainly through the aspirations and the groundwater contaminations. Safety smart drinking water contaminations is the most probable dangers. For example, in carbon dioxide entered the groundwater somehow, it can increase the water acidity, potentially leakage toxic chemicals such as leak from rock into the water. Carefully selected places that will not leak, and doing a good feat of engineering that inject system and paying attention to whether the carbon dioxide is actually going everywhere. While a thorough technical understanding of the risk will reveal best practice, the science stress the need for the goal management to see that proper productions for allowed. Family of the solution. Citation of carbon sequence argue that the technology will divert attention from such a long research on long-term clean energy options such as renewable power, or then fear it will prolong fossil fuel use. If fossil fuel, some stationary source can be used more cleanly. Continual emphasis on the needs to adapt to other technology is the adaptations of the carbon sequence needed. Geological sequestrations be one of the family of solutions for addressing the greenhouse gas issues. Energy efficiency and renewable energy are already feasible today and also can define the long-term energy pictures. Carbon dioxide sequestration is only bridge technology. Where the we also will get more scientists believe with that evidence of the CO2 11th and hot climb in the past in compelling. Like all preventing medicine easier to put all of the fate worse days. By acting now, we can change a limit that raise up to less than 5 centigrades by keeping atmosphere CO2 less than 550 parts per million. So what we learned, carbon captures and storage, CCS potentially offer carbon emission reductions of the cost similar to the offshore wind and neutral power. CCS offshore a low carbon way use fossil fuel to ensure security of the electric supply. Enhance oil recovery in the North Sea. Under present in economic conditions, CSS may not be financially viable. CCS would be play a key role in the reducing future emissions from the developing world like South Africa. And this is the things, and if you have any kind of question, you directly can communicate with me. Thank you, bye bye, and take care.